For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard. We will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Yeah! All right. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. It's so great to have you here in the mothership. We have landed this sucker. We've gone across time and space all the way back to October of 1967 in the woods of Northern California. We've set her down. Check this out right behind us. Who knows what we'll see? Maybe a monster. Want to say hello to our good friends in the control center. How are you guys tonight? Matt, Andrew, Sarah?
Doing good. Kind of squatchy.
Everything steady? Everything okay?
Yep.
All right.
As long as we don't move.
As long as you don't move. That's true. You might have to lean to the left if we start getting a little crooked here. All right, good deal. All right, you guys emailed us this week, info@30oddminutes.com, and of course you can jump in the chat room right now live during the show and blow us up on Twitter. We will post some of your tweets right on the screen below us. If they're intelligent and well thought out and funny. We love that stuff. So some emails this week. Sarah, do tell.
We did. We got some really good ones. And one, we got a shout out from one of our biggest fans. She used to be in the chat room every single episode, never missed one for like a year and a half. And she's been kind of missing. So she sent us an email and said, "Hey, Oddballs, I'm back. Wow, I missed you guys. It would make my day, well, actually my whole year to know I was also missed. Seriously, I love the show and wanted to say thank you for all the work you do to create a top-notch, informative, entertaining, and amusing program. You make being an oddball so cool." It's from Cricket. We love you, Cricket.
Hey, Cricket.
Welcome back, Cricket.
Welcome
And then
back.
we got one more, and it has to be read by Mr. Andrew Wade.
Okay. Okay, who is this from? This is from Stephen Beach?
Steph.
Oh,
Beach.
excuse me, Steph.
Beach.
Sorry about that, Steph. Congratulations on keeping the oddball ship flying, as you have cleverly hidden the big red "Do Not Touch Destruct" button on the control panel as a little green button so Matt won't destroy the show. Smart.
Mm-hmm.
Episode 78 was very cool. I like seeing the audience participation for the shows like yours. Best wishes and keep flying high.
Hi. Get it?
So it's
Good
green.
job, Steph.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you, Steph.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for all that. We love when you guys reach out to us. Thank you. On Facebook, Twitter, and email, and all that other stuff. Check it out. I've been meaning to show you this photo for weeks. The holiday season just passed, but I want to prove that I'm not the weirdest guy in my neighborhood, which is saying quite a thing. It really is. Check this photo out. I had no idea that Dracula was present at the Nativity, but there it is, my neighbor. How cool is that? Huh? Which is kind of neat because we are talking about monsters this week. So it is a little bit of a good
fun neighborhood there, Jeff.
Good segue, yeah. You know, we're talking about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the hairy man. There's so many great names all across the world. This creature is not a North American phenomenon by any means. But here's the thing. He's so rarely photographed. And we wondered why, so we asked down in the lab Dr. Drek. Dr. Drek, do tell.
Hello there, oddballs. Dr. Drek here, and I wanted to tell you the right way to take a picture of Bigfoot. Everybody thinks, oh, it's so hard to get a picture of Bigfoot, but it actually isn't if you know how to do it. Now, I'm going to show you right now how to do it with just your ordinary camera, right? You go out in the woods. Usually people see Bigfoot and they run after him. Bigfoot runs away, right? Now, what you got to do is when you do see Bigfoot out in the forest, you talk to him in Bigfootese. Say this to him. Go, whoop, 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 whoop. Now that means say cheese in Bigfoot's language. Once he knows what you want, Bigfoot is going to come right out of the forest and he's going to start posing for you. So you just start clicking because he just will hit all kinds of poses, and he'll just be so cooperative, and he'll smile and he'll wave to the folks at home, and he'll do all sorts of things like that because you see Bigfoots, we're Homo sapiens, and Bigfoots are Hamo sapiens. Now that you know that, everybody should be able to very easily get a nice big picture of Bigfoot. So go to it.
Remember that High Times magazine about Bigfoot in hot country?
We know who the biggest contributor is now.
We got to get Dr. Drek some sunlight. We've landed
I
the ship
think,
here. Get him out of the ship. Get him
Get a
some
little word
sunlight.
about the doc.
Man.
Thank you, Dr. Drek. We love your reports. All right. Okay, Northern California, we told you it's October of 1967. To be specific, it's October 20th of 1967. And that's when Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin were filming by Bluff Creek, California, right sort of near where we are. They were documenting their search for Sasquatch. Patterson brought along a rented 16mm film camera for the expedition. What they captured was only a few seconds of footage, 952 frames to be exact, that have gone on to become one of the most scrutinized pieces of film ever shot. Roger Patterson had already self-published a book called Do Abominable Snowmen of America Really Exist?, which established him in the cryptozoology business about a year prior. So, is this piece of footage an elaborate hoax meant to sell books, or is this the real deal? Tonight, we're going to look at the famous footage. We're going to see a clip. We'll show it a few times. We're going to see some other evidence, and we're going to speak with a man who has researched the video and the phenomena surrounding this incident. He says there's more than meets the eye here. He's the author of the new book, The Great Bigfoot Film Mystery, beaming to us live from his home in northern Wisconsin, the Wild Woods. Please welcome Jeff Hilling. Yeah. Jeff, how are you, sir?
Thank you for having me on the show, Jeff. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you for beaming up to the mothership. We appreciate it. And this is an amazing story. I don't think anybody interested in any aspect of the paranormal who has not seen this video, but we'll show it again here in a minute. But before we get to that, let's establish who was Roger Patterson.
Well, basically, he was a plain, folksy kind of guy. He was born in Wall, South Dakota. He was a rodeo rancher. He was in the war for a brief period of time, and he also had some experience, believe it or not, in being an acrobat.
Nice.
Toured over in Europe for a while doing that. He was not what most people would consider to be the brightest guy in the way we think of people as being bright. He wasn't a college-educated sort of person. However, he was very industrious and very clever, which adds a little bit of mystique and mystery to this whole concept of his Patterson film.
Sure. So the 1960s, Bigfoot's becoming popular in the news and in various circles. And so Patterson publishes this book. We got a cover of it here from 1966. There's that's him. There's almost, I'm there almost. And let me just jump behind it, and there I am. Okay. Whew, it's getting shaky in the engine room tonight.
Who knew he could dance, man?
There's his book, Roger Patterson. So he writes this book, which is more or less a collection of other people's stories, correct?
Mainly, yeah. He wrote a little bit of himself. It was a real hodgepodge of a book. It's a very interesting book, though.
Okay.
But it basically put it out about a year before he filmed the Bigfoot, which is what he was setting out to do when he was out there in 1967 with his cohort, Bob Gimlin.
Bob Gimlin. Here's Bob Gimlin. Can you tell us a little bit about Bob?
Well, he was a lot like Roger. I mean, basically, he's
That's
a rancher,
Bob.
basically, by trade. Lives out in Yakima, Washington, and shows up at Bigfoot rallies and Bigfoot get-togethers usually once or twice a year.
Okay. And so these two guys go out there, October 20th, 1967, and they're trying to film a documentary about Sasquatch. Let's show the clip. We can talk over it. We'll show it a few times. Here's the footage, the famous Patterson film that so many have seen, and there's the creature. There it is walking. Now, tell me, Jeff, what did you think the first time you saw this video? What was your gut telling you?
Well, I was fairly young and impressionable, so take that for what it's worth. But
sure.
Basically, this really started hitting when I was young. It was on In Search of, Mysterious Monsters with Peter Graves, lots of various documentaries that would just pop up. So at the time, I didn't know if it was real. And, it piqued my curiosity, though, throughout my life. And the past 5 or 6 years, when I really started researching the whole film very seriously. Not just the film, but all the mysteries that surround it, the history of it, right. The documentation of all the interviews given, everything. And because this is the biggest, best piece of Bigfoot film footage there is.
Right.
There's no second place. If you can tell me what's second best to this, I mean, you won't get a consensus on it. Nobody has an agreement what would the second piece of Bigfoot either footage or evidence be.
Absolutely. No, and so, but here's the thing. We got to ask everybody out there at home, think about this piece of footage via 1967. Take your head out of modern times, go back decades to 1967. Now today, we see footage, people start thinking Photoshop, YouTube video tricks. There are kids in middle school that can do stuff with film and video editing that's way beyond what people could do just a decade or two ago. But this is 1967 with a film camera. Now, tell me, Jeff, why do you think that this? What are the pros as to why this might be legit in 1967 terms?
Well, for one, what we have to compare it to in 1967, the two best film makers of the time, and as far as special effects, monkey suit type imagery we have are in that era. I would say 2001, Stanley Kubrick's magnum opus, A Space Odyssey.
Yep.
And then we also have Planet of the Apes, both which utilized ape men-like costumes. John Chambers made the costumes for Planet of the Apes, and we look at those. We have something to compare it to relatively.
Right.
At the time, the best people in Hollywood, what were they doing? That's what they were doing. It's the same era. So we look at those types of suits and costumery, and we compare it to what we see in the Patterson film, and it's amazingly unsimilar.
Right.
And we see features in the Patterson film that we didn't see in Hollywood at that time, such as apparent muscle movement, apparent muscle structure, pendulous breasts on this thing. You need a better view of that to see the breast movement, but it's there.
Right.
And if this was a costume back in 1967, done by an amateur rodeo rider who had no working knowledge of elaborate Hollywood-level costumery, this is something that is beyond the level of astonishing.
Right, and we do have a close-up, actually, when we have the close-up video you talk about, it does appear to have breasts. It does appear to have, protruding breasts from it, and we'll get to that. I know it's a family show, but we're looking at wildlife here. Any second. While they pull that up. So, but it is a pretty impressive thing. It does have fluid movement that's different than, say, a gorilla suit, which we're all too familiar with. Matt Moniz, what did you think the first time you saw this piece of video footage from Patterson?
My impression was that I was looking at a North American ape. I didn't think person in the suit. I thought this thing was an ape.
Sarah?
Oh, well, Leonard Nimoy showed it to me on In Search Of, so it had to be real.
Right, of course.
I think the first time I ever saw it, I was a little kid. You saw it on like Unsolved Mysteries or something like that. That was great.
Right.
I totally believed it. But I was like 6, 7.
Yeah. Well, but this is the thing. So this is the holy grail. Those of us that look into the paranormal, we're always looking for some kind of tangible evidence. And here's the kicker. And this is something that's no different today as it was then. If you capture something and you put it out, you're going to get ripped apart. Not just the evidence, but the person who took the evidence, who captured the evidence. So, Jeff, take us back to 1967 again. What happened once Patterson released this film and said, look at what I captured here in the woods?
Well, first of all, he shopped it around. There was very minimal scientific interest in it. A couple scientists have nominal interest in it at best. But what he did is he shopped it around. It was a real grassroots effort to begin with. He brought it to small movie theaters where he set up showings, high school gymnasiums, junior high school, any place he could set up chairs and charge $1.50 admission. He would do it and show this film and give a little presentation. And eventually this thing started to grow legs. He got an interview on the Merv Griffith show, the Joey Bishop show, where he presented the film as well as talked about it. Magazine articles were starting to come in, and just as the ball got rolling, he died in 1972 of cancer. And then really after that is when it really exploded into pop culture. It wasn't really till about 74, 75 we really started seeing it thoroughly on the airwaves, and people started taking notice. And then it started branching out and affecting our pop culture in various ways, especially in the 70s.
It seems to me that this video really defined Sasquatch, what he looks like. I mean, when you see Sasquatch costumes today, the kind you can buy online or costume stores, things like that, when you see him in beef jerky commercials or in movies, it's some derivative of this Patterson Gimlin film. It looks like that. That's come to be our understanding of what this thing is supposed to look like, which is really fascinating. He hasn't evolved much in the look in the last several decades. But let's talk about the cons as well. We talked about the pros, that if this is a makeup, if this is some kind of makeup, it's well ahead of its time. What about the cons? Now, I know there's a costume maker, Philip Morris, who claimed he sold a gorilla suit to Patterson. Is that correct?
That is correct. A few years ago, Greg Long put out a book entitled The Making of Bigfoot, where it talked about Philip Morris selling a suit to Roger Patterson at one time and putting a friend of his named Bob Hieronymus in it, who was a cohort as well and went with him on a few expeditions and was a neighbor basically. And he basically came out of the Bigfoot closet 2005-ish. I think it might have been a little earlier than that. But around that time is when he started making waves, making little appearances on TVs. And he even took a lie detector test to state that he was indeed the man in the costume.
And we just showed Hieronymus there on screen. Now, and did he pass the lie detector test?
He did. And that was done on a television show. I chronicle that in my book, The Great Bigfoot Film Mystery. It talks about the show he was on. I'm trying to remember it offhand. It was called Lie Detector.
Okay.
And it was a live show, basically, where they put somebody through a lie detector test, and he was the guest one day, and he passed it. They asked him a few questions, blatantly poignant questions, that asked him if he was the man in the suit, and sure enough, he passed it. However, in my research, I also found out that Roger Patterson apparently took a lie detector test in early 70s as well and passed it.
So, so everyone's telling the truth.
Lie detector tests, I don't know.
Right.
That's why they're not used in court.
From that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. So now what's so interesting about any legend is that people want to become a part of the story. It's a natural process. People who believe want to go to where it was filmed and see if they can stir something up. People want to claim, no, it's a hoax. I was part of the hoax. Look at me, give me attention. That's part of the story as well. Now, the story goes, and please jump in here, Hieronymus claimed he was supposed to be paid $1,000 for this in 1967 to just put on a suit and walk a few feet.
Yeah, that's correct, Jeff. $1,000 was, if you're going to translate that into modern day currency equivalency, that's over $9,000 in cash.
Which is an awful lot.
I know guys will do it for $25 and maybe a case of beer or less.
We would do it for just the beer.
Just today. And I mean, back in 1967, that's an exorbitant amount of money to claim, which makes me think that if somebody's making up a lie in today's terms and it's supposed to be a lie about something 1967, one might forget to do the currency equivalency translation back into that period of time.
Right.
So that's just a theory I have. It's a very fishy dollar amount. And also what is fishy about his story is the time he came out to claim that Patterson never paid him the money. I would think if somebody owed you that kind of cash back in 67, I think once the story started gathering legs, you start making appearances on TV and you get stiff for $1,000. I think the person would go after you mighty quickly.
Yeah, no, I understood. Okay, Jeff, we do have a question for you in our chat room. Sarah, please do tell.
Well, funny enough, I mean, the debate was everyone's, the rumors about people going there. Has anyone ever went back there to prove anything? Has anyone ever come through and confessed? So you guys have already kind of broached that subject, I guess, and covered it in the time that it took for me to ask the question.
Sorry.
However, one question I thought was interesting in here, has anyone, like on a government level, actually ever fueled money towards researching any sort of like Bigfoot sightings or even potentially protecting them from anything? Like, I thought it was actually a good question.
So that is a good question. Has the government jumped in with any funding to research something like this, to research the Bigfoot phenomena, this region or otherwise?
Boy, I sure hope not, because we're wasting tax money like crazy, and we don't need to be wasting on Bigfoot.
All right.
I think that could be in the private realm.
Here we are.
That I know of is the answer to the question, though.
Yeah, Fair enough. And now, so do you believe that Bigfoot's out there? I mean, we know this has been a cultural phenomenon. There's no denying that, whether it was hoaxed or not. Do you think this creature's out there somewhere?
Personally, I'm not sure. I mean, I look for them when I'm out and about walking. I look for evidence. I have never seen any myself. However, a lot of the stories are compelling, and we do have a rich history of it that we find within our newspapers. And I chronicle that on my website, pattersonfilm.com, just a slice of some of the mysterious sightings that go all the way back to the mid-1800s that we chronicled just in the newspaper, mainstream newspapers.
Right.
So I'm not certain myself. And here's another theory that people often don't throw out. What if Roger Patterson happened to film one of the last remaining ones? What if it's, that was a legit thing and everything else now isn't? Just a theory, just an idea.
Right.
We don't have any real good evidence since then, in my opinion. Nothing that strikes me as very good. We have a lot of alleged casts, a lot of sounds, a lot of snap trees that people claim are houses. I got those all over my property. I don't know why people, think that has anything to do with Bigfoot.
Right.
So since then, we don't have much. So I'm uncertain. I'm an author, I'm an investigator, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of the truth. And I take a very objective view, and I try to look at both sides.
Well, allow us to show you some compelling evidence. First of all, we have to show this photograph, which everyone has seen. It surfaced a couple of years ago down in Georgia. Bigfoot in the freezer. We've all seen this. Here it's coming any moment. This made all the rounds. And I remember, I'll admit, when I first saw this blast across the newswire, I had almost 3 full seconds of going, all right, finally, this is awesome. And then, it started to settle in, wait a minute, if something that amazing was in someone's backyard, if I had it, for example, wouldn't I release, 1,000 high-resolution photos from every angle? Wouldn't I get scientists from all over to come verify this thing instead of just putting out this one blurry image that we all got excited about for a few seconds? So that came out, and of course, it was quickly learned that this is a Bigfoot costume that's for sale, and I've seen that costume. It's pretty amazing and expensive, but impressive. And now here's a piece of video, Jeff, that we shot ourselves. This is, of course, the Andrew Lake Bigfoot video. Have you seen it before?
I'm not certain.
Yes. Okay. Well, don't worry. We got it for you tonight. Check this out. This is pretty compelling stuff, a little bit older, but we got Bigfoot in a freezer, look at this, and trained him to serve us beer. Huh? Nice? Huh? Compelling?
I saw that one before. Yeah, it's in your opening. That's the greatest piece of Bigfoot footage. I'll give that one second place. How's that sound?
And second place is about as good as we will ever do in anything. So
people have said we've been number 2 for years.
We've been called number 2 before. That's definitely true. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. That's a high honor. So today, people still go looking, like you said. People still get tracks. They get noises. There's a popular show on Animal Planet that's going looking for this creature now. What is it about Bigfoot that's so alluring?
He's hot again. He's trendy. He's everywhere. It's like a revival of Bigfoot. I've never seen so much Bigfoot action on TV since the In Search of days. Unfortunately, the documentaries and the footage hasn't gotten any better. It's gotten worse. A lot of times you watch these shows, they hear a noise in the woods, they hear a crack, they see an alleged print, and that's just to get you to tune in next week. One of the spoilers I can give you right now, a new season just begun. Well, I think we would have heard something in the news first before they release a whole new season, don't you? If they actually found Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So it almost, in a sense, is a self-defeating idea to have a season of Bigfoot footage and to actually think that they actually found one.
So here's
but we haven't heard anything in the news.
Yeah, no, and I understand that, and sometimes the news covers this stuff, and when they do cover it, sometimes the news covers it in a very much a look at these crazy fools way, which is nothing new. That goes back over a century that the news has made light of anything in the paranormal. Sometimes they give it some serious attention. But here's a question. So in these modern times, when we said before, where kids know how to use Photoshop and video editing software and all kinds of stuff like that, if footage like this were captured today, would anyone believe it?
Excellent point. I believe that video technology and I've said this before, has gotten to the point where we don't know what to believe anymore.
Right.
Which, in a sense, lends credibility to a piece of footage done in 1967, where any special effects would have had to have been done pre-production. In other words, in the costumery, in the costume level, and that alone. You couldn't do much editing with a 16mm film back then, especially if you weren't in Hollywood. But even Hollywood themselves knew back then that it was all to be done within the costume.
Right.
So any effects you see in the Patterson film have everything to do with the costume itself. And that's something that lends a lot of credibility to a piece of film footage like that, as opposed to if we had a 10-minute piece of film footage, the best in the world, high definition of Bigfoot today. I seriously doubt it would convince anybody who isn't already a believer in Bigfoot, because of the day and age we live in with special effects. You go to a Hollywood movie, they don't even use costumes anymore. They're using computer animation for the most part.
Right.
Or they base it off of a costume and add little elements to it to deceive you even more.
Right.
So things nowadays, no, you can't trust what you see anymore. Video has lost all credibility. So if you're seriously looking for Bigfoot, and you want to, your object is to convince the public of it, you're going to have to go to the next level. That means come up with a Bigfoot. Quit going out there with cameras. Quit looking for casts to track. I mean, that's fine if you want to do that, but don't pretend that you're going to convince anybody of
Right.
Bigfoot just by getting a piece of footage on film nowadays.
And what's so interesting to me as a guy that's, interested in all aspects of the paranormal, is that there's almost a return now to the story, to the personal experience, because that's the thing that we really can't blow apart. I mean, if someone says, I was standing in the woods and I saw this creature, you don't have to believe them, but at the same time, you can't prove or disprove what happened. It becomes this, this event that's personal, that becomes part of a legend, that a story that spreads. It makes it on television shows, it makes it on radio shows, things like that, and we'd still talk about it. So there's almost this return to this folklore, this oral tradition that's uncanny in an era of cell phones, when we've got, we talk about some of the paranormal footage. YouTube is full of it. How many UFOs have been captured on cell phones, or how many apparitions, or how many strange things in the woods, monsters, things like that, or in lakes. The stuff comes up, but like you said, we don't know what to believe. And that's what we all struggle with. We want that proof, but what do we believe? What do we not believe? And that's one of the things that I think drives us all crazy, people that research this stuff. So, personal question, you're in the woods, you've got a pistol on you, there's Bigfoot. Do you shoot him and prove it to everyone, or do you let him go free?
Well, don't take my opinion as advice for anybody else. I don't know your state laws, and there actually are state laws that try to defend Bigfoot. And how you define a Bigfoot in a court of law is beyond me, because we don't have one at this point. And
right.
Legal definitions are a tricky thing. However, would I? Yes, I would. I personally would.
Right.
I've got no problem with people who are out there seriously wanting to study a creature like that. If they want to kill him, or if they want to tranquilize him, or if they want to wrestle him to the ground, you better have a plan, though.
Matt Moniz, same question to you, but with an extension to the question. You're in the woods. You've got your AK-47 that's with you at all times. You see Bigfoot. Question: do you use a garlic rub, or are you going to do kind of like some kind of marinade with him?
Both, actually. Internal, with and then a nice garlic rub on the outside.
Nice. Sarah,
Slow roasted.
Sarah, what kind of wine would you serve with Bigfoot?
Malbec.
Oh.
Definitely.
Nice. This is a weird crew. Really weird. Very good stuff. Well, Jeff, enough about wine pairings. I didn't think we'd go.
Personally, I'd use a crock pot, and that's just me though. The other white meat.
Yeah, that's right. Some potatoes, things like that. Very good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we have run out of time. Jeff, we appreciate you being with us tonight. Really interesting stuff. We will have links to your website, of course, and your book from ours, and appreciate you coming on to the Mothership tonight to talk about this incredible piece of footage and really just amazing stuff. Jeff Hilling, Bigfoot. Check it out, pattersonfilm.com. And until next time, everybody, please stay odd.
Yeah.
Thank you.